Okay, well, I'm going to do the thought tonight. And the last time I actually done this little slot was, believe it or not, back on June the 17th. I don't know where the time goes. And on that occasion, I shared from chapter 4 of 2nd Corinthians. And we focused in on verses 17 and 18. And you may remember that verses reading, "For this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." And many of our devotional thoughts recently have picked up on similar themes as this, themes of having a good God who makes provision for us, a God who gives us comfort and encouragement, even when we are going through difficulties or hardship, even when facing into apocalyptic situations, as John reminded us when he done the devotion a few weeks ago. God is in control. He's working out his purposes, and he's effecting his great grace despite the hardships and despite all that we see around us. So I want to follow on from those last thoughts, and I want to run straight into the verses that follow the statement we finished on, the final words of the passage. "For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal." So if you can listen or follow along now, and I'll read chapter 5 of 2nd Corinthians, and I'll read from verses 1 to 10, and then share just a couple of thoughts on those. "For we know that if the tent that is our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this tent we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling, if indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked. For while we are still in this tent we groan, being burdened, not that we would be unclothed, but that we would be further clothed, so that what is mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us his Spirit, the Spirit as a guarantee. So we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord, for we walk by faith and not by sight. Yes, we are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil." And we'll finish the reading there at verse 10. And Beth reminded us last week that we will have trials in our Christian witness and in our ministry. That was the theme also back in June when I covered the latter part of chapter 4. And now in these verses, Paul moves on to remind the Corinthians and to remind us that what should motivate us despite these adverse circumstances. I want to break my thoughts in the passage down into 6 easy to remember little statements. Number 1, the adverse circumstances will not last long. In the context of time and eternity, it's only for a short time until we then experience the wonder of our heavenly dwelling. Verses 2 to 4. "For in this tent we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling, if indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked." And here it comes, "For while we are still in this tent." While is a little while in eternal, in the eternal context. It's only for a short time. Number 2, our hope is confirmed and guaranteed to us. Verse 5, "He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us the Spirit as a guarantee." So our faith, which has been decreed and granted to us by God, is confirmed by his indwelling Holy Spirit. Number 3, this world is not our home. Verse 6, "So we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord." Well, at home in the body is not our real home. It's not our final home. I was a wee bit, there's no singers on tonight. Noel hasn't joined us, and that's a pity because got a bit nostalgic thinking of this. I remember my mum many years ago singing a song of Jim Reeves around the house. This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. Some of you remember that. Can anybody sing it? No singers there.
This world is not my home.
I'm
I'm
just
just passing through. La, 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 la. I don't know.
Somewhere beyond the blue. Very good. Well, thank you for that, Yanni. And I think Beth was going to join in there too, but it's hard to do that over Zoom because you might not get, the timing may not be right. There may be a little dwell in the audio. Number 4, our trust for now and confidence for the future is faith-based. Verse 7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. And I'm really glad that it's faith-based and it's not based on reason, because if it was based on reason, I would come across somebody somewhere who would be able to reason me out of it. So that would not be very good. So that's a good point. It's a faith-based trust and confidence. Number 5, we are to be motivated to serve God. That should be our priority. Verses 8 and 9. Yes, we are of good courage, and we would rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, and here's the bit, we make it our aim to please him. That's to be our motivation to serve God. And there's a very, very good reason why that motivation is really important. And it comes in my 6th and final point, which is we don't want to lose out. We need to be sure not to waste any opportunities to please the Lord. Verse 10, for we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Now, I have to confess, when I was a young Christian, this used to trouble me. I used to not be able to understand, does this mean I have still some sort of judgment? Can I lose my salvation? Until I realized at some point, and I can't remember exactly when, but I certainly got to the point of realizing that it's not like this. It's more of a prize giving. It's more of a reward ceremony that's being talked about here, without going into it too deeply. The real question is, will I get a star-filled crown or a finisher's medal on that occasion? And that reminded me of another song. You get ready here, Yanni, that I used to hear about the house many years ago. Will there be any stars in my crown? It's a harder tune maybe to catch, isn't it? Do you know the one?
I've sung it, but I can't start it. Clifford is a start it.
Clifford, will you start it?
I could play it, but I couldn't sing it.
Will there be any stars in my crown when an evening was done? That's the one. Yeah. It is hard over Zoom because you get an audio lag, so you can't really sing together. That's the pity, isn't it? But, well, I can't really sing anyway, so we're good. Okay. I'll just recap the 6 points then, and then I'll hand over to Clifford, and maybe we can have a bit of a discussion or whatever on that, whatever way Clifford leads us. So point number 1, the adverse circumstances will not last long. Point number 2, our hope is confirmed and guaranteed to us. Point 3, this world is not our home. Point 4, our trust for now and confidence for the future is faith-based. Number 5, we are to be motivated to serve God. And number 6, we don't want to lose out.